Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you about the link between the COVID money and the housing market. Now, common sense should tell us that there are almost like natural laws that we know as human beings that happens. And people tend to be greedy. So we should not see this as something that should surprise us too much. But think about all the money that was spent in COVID. Everyone wants to talk about how much stimulus and how we gave so much money to Americans, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, those checks were actually not the biggest part of most of the stimulus that kept getting passed during COVID. And if you think about it, loans to businesses and stuff like that actually was more money. And I encourage you to Google these things or look them up somehow, but do your own research. This is the truth. And also, I have heard a lot of really super rich people say they didn't take checks, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Some of them did because they have attorneys, they have lawyers that can actually give them so many deductions that some of their incomes are minus. How that happens. But, anyways, so there are people that took those stimulus checks as well that didn't need them. So let's put that kind of in perspective. But at the same time, going back to what I was originally talking about, all this money got funneled through different corporations and banks and stuff like that. So think about it. There are a lot of corporations that have their hands in all kinds of different industries. Like, let's say food. Did you know that tobacco companies, uh I believe it's about some report from about 55, 60% to up to even 75% of our food goes back and is manufactured by tobacco companies. That's a little scary considering what they did to people. Anyways, that's another video. But if you think about it, that's just an example of how these corporations have their hands in all kinds of different industries. And you go and look, it would not be hard for asset managers, hedge funds, etc., to get a hold, maybe even not directly, but in a roundabout way, from some of that money. Now, as it pertains to the housing market, think about it. You inject all this free money. And what do these corporations have to do for this money? Nothing. I'm not saying that all these businesses and corporations that got money were bad. I'm just saying it was literally free money that they were getting. And if you think about it, in real estate, they say that a property is worth what a buyer is willing to pay. Now, I mean, you can look in facts and data, but let's think about this with some common sense. If you give greedy people free money and an opportunity to do things like this, what do you think is going to happen? And it just furthers their agenda that you will own nothing and be happy. And I know we talk a lot about that, but unfortunately, this is the way they want to go. So you have to think about it in terms of what their plan is, not what you think. Or this isn't about just wanting to think good about human beings. This is a fact of life. There are people that want to run this world that hate regular people like us, and they don't care what they do to us, and they want to control us. So, going back to, sorry, my nose itched. Going back to the housing market, they, this was not done stupidly. This was done by design. They purposefully inflated artificially the housing market. And they did it by injecting all this money into it. Now, why did they do it? I encourage you guys to always look behind what they're doing, like in the news, or not even what you see in the news, just on the surface. I always encourage you to look underneath to see what's really truly going on. And not because you should be panicked or fearful, but so you know what's coming. So you can, I mean, you can't prepare for everything, but you can be as prepared as you can possibly be for what's going to happen. And prepare your family. Maybe try to get in a better place before it does happen. I don't know. But, anyways, so they artificially inflated this. And this means what? Regular people are not being able to buy houses. And regular people can't just get free money. Okay, let's look at COVID for a minute. I don't know about you, but COVID decimated me financially. I was working in a restaurant. I had to stop working, like, we didn't know how we were going to make it. And we just started to recover from COVID when the economy just... And what are you supposed to do when you have regular Americans who are still trying to recover from that? And then you hit them with more stuff, with the economy, with the groceries and everything else. They are purposefully manipulating all this to steal your wealth and your resources as well. What did they do with your tax money, with our tax money? They gave it to companies so that they could keep you from your dreams on purpose. That's what this did. And maybe you're a person that has wonderful credit, and maybe COVID didn't decimate you and you can still afford these things. That's wonderful. I'm not hating on you. But I'm just saying, regular Americans, and there was millions of people decimated by COVID. Not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, physically even. I mean, you couldn't even go to gyms. There was so much, like where we were at, we couldn't even go to the grocery store. But fast food places were open. Places to get alcohol and liquor was still open. Okay, sorry, I'm not trying to go totally into that, but I just want you to see how they want you to be a renter. They do not want you to own anything because they want that. They do not believe that we should own anything because we don't have the right, because we're below them. They're above us. That's what this is. I continually tell you, this is not race-based. This is class. These are people who hate us all and don't want us to have anything. So if you think about it, we're, almost halfway through 2023. And some housing markets, some of the prices have fallen, but they're not falling very quickly. And some markets are still horrendous. So what does this say? Something is wrong, because this market should be correcting itself. Eventually, all markets correct themselves. So what is going on in the housing market? They're still inflating it. They're still trying to suck every last little bit out they can get. And then when this thing finally does crash, then they're just going to come back in and buy the cheaper ones. And then regular Americans really won't be able to find any housing. I know for a fact that we're having a hard time finding housing. And people are forced to live in motels, or they're forced to stay with family members, or even be homeless. Not because sometimes they even have the money to find another place, but they can't find one. So, all this to say that this was done on purpose. This was to keep you from owning a home. This was to keep you from thinking that you could achieve a dream that you want. Because if they keep you from home ownership, it's one of the best and fastest ways to generational wealth. And these people know it. And not only that, if they keep you from getting the one dream that you want or a few dreams wrapped up in owning your own home, well, guess what? They can crush your spirit even more. What do you think COVID was meant to do too? Maybe I'll do some more videos on this. But think about this housing market and how ridiculous the prices have gotten. And I know I've had people, in some Facebook groups, oh, blah, 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 it's in numbers, and it's like, no. Common sense, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of wisdom can tell you that something was not right about what went on. And it's still not right. So I would encourage you to look at the numbers if you don't believe me, and look at the COVID numbers and look at how many rich people did get some of that money, or a lot of that money. A lot of that money did not go to regular Americans. It went to the richest of the rich here. I'm not saying that none of them deserve that money. I'm just saying, really think about that. And that is our money. That is our money. We're allowing our government, that isn't government money. That's our money that we have allowed to go to these people that hate us so that they can price us out of our own housing markets. That's messed up. So we're basically funding our own destruction, and personally funding the destruction of the American dream, which usually starts with owning your own home. Love you guys. Think about it.